Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Harakakadash, the one that said elder apostles, the great millstone that roll well. Shalom, so the brothers doing the work of certain truth. Um, got this article on the Guardian. It's going over mainly this protest that was done outside a hotel down in Epping. It was basically one of the migrant hotels, and that's become like within the last like 6 9 months, well, over the course of the year, I can just say, the focus has really been on, these migrant hotels. And they've, been putting the focus on it like, oh, these guys are right here doing the madness, and some of them are. Uh, obviously, it's they're like, saying, get them out, as they do. And it's prophecy being fulfilled. You're having those, civil strifes among the people, and it's compounded really on, life getting shit, for the average geezer, the average fella in the UK, the average lass, the average lady in the UK. You know, the way that you would have been able to, live and kind of put life together. That's a lot of that shit has died, man. That post Brexit, there's been a steep decline, and everyone's really looking for someone to blame or some way to, rectify it. And the push recently has been, against the migrants. People think you vote in reform, they're going to get them out and it will save the economy. But, that's what Brexit was meant to do. So, wagwan. But these are things that, are being stirred up because as far as how in the fuck are these motherfuckers? Motherfuckers are in boats coming across, the, uh, what's it, the English Channel or wherever the fuck they're coming from. It's gonna be English Channel. So for them to get over here, like they, someone's letting them in and giving them a place to stay, which is your government, because these guys are operating with orders from above, and that they've got those elites over them that set pace. So you have things like the WF talking about these things, talking about no nation states, eat the bugs, you'll own nothing and be happy, because it's deteriorating away at the current society as it is. It's bringing in that chaos. So it says a dangerous moment, the emboldening of Britain's far right. So that's on the Guardian again. It says the Bell Hotel in Epping has seen a lot since it was built in the 16th century as a coaching inn, serving travellers passing through the historic Essex market town and onto London. 15 miles to the southwest, this has long been a place that bustled with outsiders. Though they have not been welcome, the small green common out opposite was once named after a beacon that local stories say was built to warn of invasion. Okay. Don't know why you won't put the name. Um, though now wrapped in ugly 1960s extensions that stripped it of anything approaching charm, the unassuming building close to agricultural land and a cricket pitch is an unlikely place to spark a potential political crisis. This is what the government may be facing, however, after the High Court ruled this week that the Home Office's use of the Bell Hotel to house asylum seekers breached planning laws. So yeah, that's the only thing that matters is, shutting it down. The pretense doesn't really matter. No one really cares. It says Epping Forest District Council would challenge the government after the hotel became a flashpoint for anti-refugee protests. after an Ethiopian man who had been placed there was arrested and charged over the alleged sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl. Yeah, which, if men are getting up to that, if they get their hands on that guy, he's getting ripped limb from limb. It wouldn't really be a surprise. It says local protesters and the Conservative Council were jubilant, but the implications of ousting the hotel's 140 male residents as yet unknown locations could be far more widespread. Yeah, they're more likely than not just gonna eject the Ethiopian dude, but everyone else is gonna get to stay. It's as of for now, this is something that is just really being maintained and normalized because and it's stirring up response. Skipping down a bit, it says this case may turn on planning law, but there are plenty who see this as a much bigger victory after a febrile summer. I don't know what the hell that word means, in which thousands of people again have crossed the channel in small boats. Anti-migrant protests have taken place in more than 40 locations, and nationalistic and anti-refugee rhetoric has been embraced by politicians across the spectrum and amplified by sections of the media. Because it's now become it's basically like the U.S. politics. Their immigration politics have been exported. They've been exported to a lot of places, but the UK, they're basically stirring it up like, hey, these people are coming in doing X, Y, Z, and as far as sort of refugees, you see footage of some of these guys. That shit's looking insane, bro. Man are just like shipping in boatloads of like fresh East Africans, North Africans, even some West Coast as well, but not that many. Seems more like East North Africans, and then some Middle Easterners as well. What does it say? There's not been widespread rioting of the kind that occurred last summer, sparked by the murder of 3 girls at a dance class in Southport and false rumors that the perpetrator was a Muslim asylum seeker. But as communities brace for further widespread protests this week, a campaign to raise the flags of St. George and the Union Jack across the country gathered pace, declaring as patriotism what many others have experienced in their villages or streets as clear intimidation. And yeah, but then skipping down because it's the thing with it's there was a big pushback for a while against these things, but then you had like Brexit happen, and then from then it's really been pushed up to just because even like post Brexit they said whatever they classify as like hate crimes or whatever the particular classification was went up by like 8 times, maybe 10 times, like went up by a shitload, which isn't really a surprise. And it's gonna be happening now because obviously they're focusing on migrants, but then it's just gonna leak. Esau is, man. It's gonna leak out to everyone, but like, get him out. So if you ain't got a British passport, they might try and do a madness. So that says which that's saw that in Children of Men, man. So it says Saturday's protests largely passed without incident, while demonstrators and police clashed in places. There were not scenes of civil unrest from last summer. However, refugee and even minority communities are experiencing real consequences, illustrated by countless small but terrifying incidents. In Redcar, and it's they're trying to amp it up, but it's not been on that. It's not even been anywhere near the scale it was last year. Last year was, it was like people were just getting swung on, getting caught out there. But we'll see. And if if there's more, last year's set got more police powers. This year's set might do the same again. In Redcar, North Yorkshire, a black man filmed playing with his white granddaughters has been racially abused and falsely called a pedophile after the short video clip was amplified online by far-right activist Tommy Robinson. In East Belfast, a small group of vigilantes have been seeking out dark-skinned men to shout abuse at or demand to see their identity documents. Which, last year they were just going around swinging on men. So, it's not quite there. But then this is something that's bubbling over. Because, any particular incident can just have the shit pop off. So this is writing in The Guardian on Friday, the Refugee Council's chief executive, Enver Solomon, said some food banks that previously served all in need were now turning away perceived foreigners. He also described meeting an African man in the 60s. Yeah, that's the thing is, the main actual issue is like the average Brit out here is fucking salt and dust, man. They're cooked, man. They're fried. They're simmered. They're broiled, man. They're done out here. They ain't got no financial opportunity arriving at them soon. Their careers cooked. They're that holiday, the one once, twice, maybe 3 times a year holiday. Losing that is destroyed them. It's mass destruction. So this is why he also described meeting an African man in his 60s in northeast England who had been attacked by a group of men. His arms were, I already read that one. But yeah, it's they're saying flying flags. It's just, this one small incident really. But it's consistent. And because it's in the news, man, it's rousing the people. Because this spurred off the Ethiopian dude do it, going a bit rabid, getting ancient out there. You know, that happened one too many times. Someone gets torn limb from limb, then shit can pop off, man. And then really it's gonna be police powers. 2 Esdras 15:14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. For one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. And they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So yeah, it's sedition among men. And then, you even have people fleeing back to their own lands as well because of these things. That's a lot of people looking at the UK like the opportunities that existed, 10, 15, 20 years ago. They're now looking at it like, nah, it's a wrap, man. The sun has set on the empire. And then, the Brits that are here just, they're in the shade. They're in the shade and the moon ain't come out, man. So new moon, you can't see it. It's just out here, desolated in the dark. So, they're gonna need something to exercise their displeasure against, man. And that's why you have these, these narratives being built. So you have this focus being put on these migrants. Like, you get the migrants out, then, that's everything. So Britain's for British. Sure. But then, is that materializing a career for your lifestyle? Hell no. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, the men shall be afraid. So shit going into lockdown, man. London's one in places where it's ready for that, man. They can gridlock this shit easy than they did in what was it called? leave the world behind. Leave the world behind, yeah. But yeah, that's the unrest, man. It's, I expect it to just intensify more and more over time as well. But yeah, that's it, man. Shalom, shalom.